This video is brought to you by Mubi, and of course, by my lovely patrons.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to LynchPins.
Welcome.
This is our very first episode of this David Lynch-related podcast. Right?
Yeah.
We're doing it.
His name's David.
Yeah. And
Last
it's
name
related
Lynch.
to that.
It is related to that.
So we're doing it.
We're doing it. This is LynchPins. David Lynch, as we all know, is an intimidating director.
Yeah.
Is what I have been told and feel myself.
He is intimidating.
He is.
To consume his work.
Exactly.
Especially, have you ever seen his hair?
It's tall.
It's tall and it's got a life of its own.
It's big.
I mean, that hair defies narrative.
He's two directors in one.
Yeah, he really is.
His hair and him.
He really is. What a magnificent figure he cuts.
I know, it's great.
I love that about him.
We're big fans of David Lynch.
Huge fans.
Obviously, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, he is an American auteur. If you haven't seen a David Lynch film, you have seen his influence in everything from The Sopranos.
Definitely.
Mandy to A24's just kind of entire.
Yeah, everything they're doing.
Water. Yeah. Everything they've done. So LynchPins is us discussing David Lynch's filmography from his least Lynchiest to his most Lynch. And hopefully make it a little less, intimidating.
Yeah, we want you guys to be able to watch a David Lynch film and pretend like you know what it means at a party.
Yes.
That's really the goal here.
Right.
Go to a party and be like, have you seen Blue Velvet? Here's an hour on that.
Or actually, the guy who's already talking about it in the corner. Say, that's not really.
You're wrong, sir.
Sir.
But let's us become friends.
Yeah. But we do have much in common, you and I.
Yes. You are another guy still wearing hats. You and I need to be friends. That's the goal.
Yeah. So, who are you?
Who am I? Who are you? My name is Adam Ganser. I'm one of your hosts, alongside the other of my hosts.
Maggie Mayfish.
Yeah. This isn't the only time we've seen each other, or our faces, or talked at each other, is it?
No, but right before filming, you did say it would be fun if we pretended this was the first time we'd seen each other.
I did.
In person.
I did. Yeah, it's... Wow.
What's going on there?
It looks worse than I thought.
Yeah.
It looks a lot worse. Disappointment is the experience I'm having.
The shapes are just not what I...
They're so blurry on me.
Yeah.
You're very angular. It's very sharp.
You're beautiful.
Yeah. Well, of course. You're always...
Of course. Well, of course.
Of course. It is fun to do it face-to-face.
It is, yeah.
We don't often do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
We usually start off our podcast by simply asking, how are you, Adam?
We do like to start. It's very formal.
We do.
Usually we show up with an agenda anytime we hang out.
Yeah.
How are you?
How are you?
Sort of consult the paper.
I have my checklist.
Good. Yes. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Good.
I feel...
What's new?
So many things are new. Very few of them are related to the surreal films of David Lynch, so maybe I won't get into all of my dating history today.
Not today.
Not
sure
today. It's surreal enough that it fits.
The stories you have told me.
Thematically.
They don't happen in this universe.
They're not narratively consistent.
No.
I'll just say that.
No.
I'm not even sure I'm the protagonist of
Vignettes. I don't think so.
Sometimes, did I just...
You're the observer.
Yeah, was I an NPC in this adventure? What happened here? Nothing that interesting. I've been working on a documentary, which will be cool, and I think will come out this year.
Wow.
I think so. So
wow.
it's coming out.
That's exciting.
I think we're going to stick with the title Sanibel, so those of you who are curious to find it, maybe it'll exist and be out there by this time it's possible.
Wow.
Yes, that's really fun. Writing scripts, doing all this stuff. How about you? Are you ready to talk about any of your projects yet?
I am in the midst of finishing a script. Actually, today's my day off from writing.
So you thought, why not do another job?
Why not do another job with a friend?
Yeah, that makes it feel less like work.
Womp womp.
I know. Working is all we know how to do.
I know.
Working is how we have fun, I think.
It is fun, though. It is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We always have a good time.
Yeah. We're gonna start with David Lynch's least Lynchiest film, but to him, he has said that The Straight Story is his most experimental film.
Yeah. What?
Yes.
That's a line he said?
Yes.
That's insane. Every time you hear David Lynch talk about his movies, he says a thing, you're like, what? Like, I feel like he, as an interviewer, is a troll. Not as a filmmaker.
Yes.
I really believe everything he's doing as a filmmaker is sincere in a lot of ways. But his interviews are like, he'll like go off on a tangent about clouds or something. You know what I mean? And you're like, what is this, man?
Yeah. He loves it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah.
Because like, go for it, buddy. I love that you're this weird gremlin that we give money to. You know, I love it so much. His most experimental film. Okay. Well, I can tell you, beloved audience who have not seen this film, that it is not going to freak you out or be confusing to you.
No.
Like, you won't watch it and feel in any way like, what is this about?
Not at all. If you were at all, I can keep using intimidated. I'm sure there's a better word. If you're just like, I don't know where to enter. What is the point of entry?
Is it obtuse? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Where do I start? This film it's grounded. It's a
very
character.
Grounded. It was released by Disney.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a very safe entry point. And so we did pick it as our first episode.
Yeah, we'll get into the weird who is actually the waitress movies a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Later on down our run. So this is our first segment that we like to call What Happened?
What happened?
So what happened is the segment where we're going to loosely recap the events of this movie. Now, that may be challenging in a David Lynch film. Not in this particular one, I would say.
Yeah, today is smooth.
Yeah, this is a smooth tractor ride. But it won't always be. And we're going to get into what's weird about it and sort of the weird conventional stuff later on. But Mags, do you want to do the recap? Do you want me to do the recap?
I'll start.
Interstitially do it? How do you want to do it?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and give some background on the film. So, released in 1999. So, late 90s, almost the millennium. Almost the millennium.
Yeah, the millennium. It was almost before the computers rose up.
Yes.
Right around that time.
Yeah, take us for hostage.
That's why there were no computers in this movie. Find one. I don't think you can find it. No. Yeah, okay.
It is based on a true story of a person named Alvin Strait, who drove a tractor from Iowa to Wisconsin to visit his brother.
By the way, if your name is Alvin Strait, you deserve a movie just for that.
Oh my God, yes.
What a fucking name.
It's an amazing name.
Like, well, yeah. It's like if a person's destiny is inscribed on their name card.
Well, the straight story.
Yeah, it's perfect.
The layers. The layers.
Maybe it is experimental. Anyway, so what did he do?
So he drove his tractor from Iowa to Wisconsin, which is not a feat.
Yeah. That sounds mundane, but then you got to think about he's driving a tractor on the interstate for hundreds of miles.
He's
sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And older.
Yeah, he's in his late 70s.
Yeah. It was actually one of, I think, the only Lynch film that he directed that he did not write.
Yeah.
His longtime collaborator, Mary Sweeney, wrote it with John Roach.
Wife.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were married briefly. I think this was in that.
This was in that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, David Lynch read it and was so moved by the emotion that he knew he needed to direct it. He was the one to channel that emotion onto screen.
Now, I don't want to be condescending about that, but that is a comment I want to come back to.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to think, what is the emotion that moved him for this?
I think I.
You know what I mean, though? Like, when you watch the movie,
yeah,
it's very understated, actually. It's not that it's not emotional.
But that's, I think, the power.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway. Character-wise, matches with our main protagonist.
Good. Okay, do you like this movie? Like, are you into this movie?
Yeah, okay. I love it.
I'm medium on this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I like it, but I'm medium on it.
To me, it is very... I mean, all of David Lynch's films are poetic. Mm-hmm. To me, this is a very, almost like a limerick, where like things rhyme. Like the theme is very consistent and clear. It's like a comforting type of poem.
I agree with that. I don't want to skip into the next segment, but this feels like a very, like much closer to Homer's Odyssey than a lot of films that are trying to be that.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, we should tell what actually happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Early in the film, we meet him and his daughter who has if I remember correctly, has a mental.
I think she only has a speech impediment.
Is that all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So she has a speech impediment, but she also, we find out later she had some personal tragedy as well.
Yes.
That factors into that. He is old and sick.
Yes.
He has no longer can see well enough to drive. No longer can walk well enough to walk without a walker, which he refuses to use. And he sort of comes to terms with the idea, like, I'm not going to live much longer. You know,
Yeah.
like we're in the final lap here. So he decides he's going to set out to make peace with his brother, who he had a falling out with 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We never totally know why they fell out.
No explanation. Yeah.
He lives a few states over. But because he can't drive, he decides, I'm going to take this tractor.
Yeah.
I'm going to drive on the road all the way to meet my brother. And the movie is just really that.
It is the straight story of him going from one state to the other.
Yeah.
To see his brother who recently had a stroke. Yeah.
Yeah. Like every movie like this, it has a bunch of strange characters that he meets, which is, again, Homer's Odyssey, right? Like,
Yeah. Do you want me to go through?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. Okay, so he's on his journey, on his road. He first meets a hitchhiker, and she is pregnant, we find out.
Which he sort of picks up immediately. Like he is very intuitive. That's one of the interesting things about him as a character. He kind of can see what people are not willing to say.
Yes, and it's interesting because he tells a story about, and I'm paraphrasing, but, one stick is easy to break, but sticks together.
But a bundle of sticks is strong enough. Which is interesting because we'll come back to that later. Yeah. Because I think that's it's a very character theme for him to say a thing when he himself is on a journey to repair a broken bundle of sticks between him and his. And I don't know that seeing him and his brother together that they really make a bundle.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that that's
two sticks.
Two sticks are harder than one to break.
Two sticks are harder than one to break.
So, okay.
It's harder.
But maybe he could have brought his daughter along. I don't know.
That's he
Also,
really wants to do it alone. It is the
he's so like, I gotta do it alone.
Yes, it'll come up a couple times later with other people offering help.
He refuses to go inside someone's house at some point in this movie. And it's like...
Ask for the phone outside of the house.
What about that is intrusive? Do you need to stand on your tractor, sir? What is it about that?
I do think, again, that is a very character thing of...
But what does it mean?
What does it mean? His walls are so thick that he doesn't want to feel his own pain, so he puts walls up to...
Certainly. That's certainly true. And again, I don't want to skip too much into the next segment, so I don't want to... I'm going to resist the tangent. But like...
Oh, are you?
Not really. I'm going to ruin it as I do. No, I'm gonna skip the tangent. So like Homer's Odyssey, he meets a series of characters. It's a pregnant woman he runs into, gives him good advice.
Yep. Lady who hits a deer.
That lady.
She's my favorite. I love her. I love her.
She belongs in the rest of Lynch's films.
Yes.
Just out of her mind.
Out of her mind. It's just so sad that she hit a deer, and that's it. She just hits the deer, tells him how sad she is about it, and then he takes the deer and eats it that night for dinner.
We're skipping over so many wonderful pieces of that.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not... I think she says, if I remember correctly, that she can't not hit deers. I don't think this is the only deer she's hit.
Yes. She says she has to drive this every day to work, and she has hit so many deers.
She's just clocking deers every which way with that car.
And she loves deers.
Yeah. It's just a real Hades situation for
It's
her.
very tragic. And it's the idea of like hurting things when you don't even like want to. You don't even mean to, but you can end up hurting them.
And he doesn't suggest a bundle of deers or anything.
No,
he's got no solution for
it.
He's like, I guess I'll eat it then.
Yeah.
So another thing that I do think is important, just because it's amazing, he basically only eats hot dogs. Okay, like that's really all he's eating.
That is
hot
a wonderful
dogs.
detail.
He just keeps shoving hot dogs down his gullet.
Jamie Loftus.
It's unbelievable.
It is.
It's like this man is sick from his diet, and if he's really consuming this many hot dogs, he's a miracle child.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
That he's still doing, that he can do the trip at all.
Like, that I'm watching a movie, I'm thinking roadkill is an upgrade for him.
I know, I was like, that's fresh meat. At least it's not, you know.
At least it's not uncooked salt links.
That's
right?
That's the kindest way to describe a hot dog.
I'm trying to run a kind podcast here. Yeah, he eats that roadkill, and the experience we have watching him is like, well, good for him.
Yeah, that was actually...
That probably tasted good.
Yeah.
Venison's probably a relief.
Kind of glad she ate the deer. I know she didn't like it, but...
Yeah. She definitely feels like a slice right off of Twin Peaks.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I use this word gently, but she's like a hysterical figure.
Yes.
The way that everybody is in Twin Peaks.
Absolutely.
So that's a fun wrinkle. The previous person you mentioned was clearly a local actor.
Yes.
There's a lot of local actors in this film, and that's kind of a fun thing I want to talk about at some point.
Yeah, David Lynch loves working with people who are not actors.
Yes.
That is a consistent theme we'll see.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes they're incredible. Sometimes they feel like local theater. I would say that's true in this movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, my God, you know, the performance he got. And then sometimes it's like, you know. Anyway, yeah. But that's what happens when you work with local actors.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Hit and miss.
Yeah.
It's our first.
Right. Well, it's not like he couldn't have gotten
rodeo.
whoever he wanted.
Yeah.
In that, you know, like.
I think it's fun. It's an authentic way to portray. He's very, you know, he loves authentic and inauthentic performances, and he loves juxtaposing the two.
Yes, he does.
He loves a grounded man and a lady screaming.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he likes clashing worlds where there's the experience is about trying to reconcile them a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to say he also shot this in chronological order.
He did, yes.
So, for those of you who are not filmmakers, shooting something in chronological order is insane.
I don't know why.
You can't do it.
You can't do it.
It costs so much more money.
Yeah.
It's inconvenient in every aspect except for the acting. It's good for the actors.
Yeah.
Because then they have the experiences
right.
in their recent memory. For every other aspect of production, it's a hellscape.
But he did it.
Yeah.
And the main, Richard Farnsworth, who is the star of the film, who we'll talk about a little bit later, is incredible in it.
He is great.
Nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes, he was great.
Yeah.
So anyway, he goes on all these adventures, essentially has some tractor problems.
Yes, has some tractor problems.
Right.
His transmission blows out, and there's like a group of... like in my mind, I picture them as yuppies. They're not like actually yuppies.
They're just sort of like
just friends.
Yeah, they're just Midwestern hangouters, you know.
Yeah, a group of friends hanging out. They're watching a barn burn.
Yeah.
And,
that's another weird. Like, what's going on over there?
Yeah, they're just they're watching it. Like, you know, with beers cracked open.
Which I would do too. I'm not judging him for that. It's more that no one seems concerned. about that. I will
say that's entertainment in the Midwest. If something's on fire, that's the evening.
A building on fire is entertainment anyway.
Yeah,
that's true. That'll play in this city.
That's true. That'll play anywhere. Yeah, but especially out there. And you got room to sit back and pop a beer. You got room to tailgate the fire.
They were also kind of not really watching it. Like, they were kind of just hanging out and it was happening. And it was just really like, what is going on with this? Nothing happened with it.
Yeah.
That's it.
But yeah, so his tractor blows out. They offer him help. They offer to drive him the rest of the way.
Yes.
He refuses because this is a journey that he wants to make on his own.
Yeah.
He calls his daughter to ask her to send his social security check. Gets the tractor fixed with his social security check from a comedy duo of brothers who own a tractor repair shop.
Pretty busy business.
Yeah. It seems they had a lot of time on their hands.
Enough to quibble over price. For a while. Also, he like hard sells them. That's another thing that like he's like very unreasonable about all of his price negotiations in a way I find absolutely charming. I love what a dick he is about money. It's so good. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, you don't pay him.
An accurately written person. It's just like that's true.
He's like, what's this cost? $700. I'm gonna give you $7.
No. Yeah.
$7. That's really it. Well, we already fixed it, sir. Well, I hope you enjoy $7 because that's what you get.
Yeah.
He's just like,
thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just kind of tells everybody how it works.
Yeah. It's kind of comforting. Yeah.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah. So the originally the comedy duo was casted as Chris Farley and Chris Farley's brother.
Right.
And obviously Chris Farley passed away before he could do the role. So yeah.
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 That's a shame.
I know.
Chris Farley in a David Lynch film.
I know.
Sounds amazing to me. I don't like. I'm like, would that have been perfect, or would it have been insane? I don't know.
Both. I probably would have just followed their lead. He's good with actors.
Yeah, he is good with actors. And they all seem to love him too. Like his actors really seem to connect to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he repairs the tractor. The movie has stakes.
The movie has stakes. Repair the tractor. He's getting closer and closer to his brother at this point. And he gets within the vicinity. Before he leaves, there is a big plot point where he goes to a bar and he's been sober for many years, but he goes because he's still waiting on his tractor to get fixed.
Right.
And in the story, and also in real life, the actor Richard Farnsworth is a World War II veteran.
Right.
And so is the character in the film.
Yeah.
When he's at this bar, he sits down and there's another World War II veteran.
It's probably also the best part of the film, I would say.
It's the heart of the film.
Yeah, that scene is the best scene of the film, and you can't believe it.
Yeah.
They basically reminisce over their experiences in World War II and the grief they're both carrying around from things that happened. It's actually good enough that I kind of don't want to spoil the specifics of it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because until that point, you're like, this is kind of a cute little movie.
Right.
It's sweet.
Right.
That scene is the scene where it's like, oh my God, there's an ocean of meaning going on here.
Yeah.
And Lynch really lets you in on it. And it's like, wow, everything means something now.
Yeah. It is the key to the whole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's two incredible performances. I think the other guy's not an actor. Or maybe he is, but he hasn't been in a bunch of stuff, I'm pretty sure. And his performance, we watched it before this. I was like, oh my God, man.
Yeah.
Like, it really felt like it came from something real.
Yeah.
I thought. It was, brutal. Like, war stuff is always a little bit charged. This had the ring of, this felt real.
I was going to say the realism of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way they tell the specific story of what broke them.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, and going back to what we said earlier, I think in there is the emotion that I think Lynch saw bubbling under the script.
To me, as a film watcher, that's the moment where you realize why Lynch is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, every movie's going to have stuff like that. Like, it's like, oh, this is why he's such a revered figure. That's the scene in this movie where it's like, oh, wow. Because and this is the thing that he's great at, it's a trademark thing for David Lynch. He can bring you very deep, very profound emotions suddenly.
Yeah.
In a way, and like he catches you off guard.
Yeah.
He's so good at that. Anyway, so that scene's incredible. It gives us a big window into what the film's really about, what's really happening there.
Yeah.
And then our hero continues.
Yeah, our hero continues, and we're basically almost at the end. After that, he meets a Catholic priest who mentions that he actually knows his brother. He knows Lyle, but this brother never mentioned that he had another brother, which points back to their
feud. It's a little foreboding, too, because there's a part of you that thinks, is his brother still going to be there?
Right. We know he's had a health problem,
Yeah, there's a little tension around, I mean, and this is all movies, but like this one there did start to feel like, is he going to be dead?
Right.
Like, is he going to be? Are they not going to reconcile? Because that could happen. Yeah, it gets a little real. He has another breakdown. Tractor bearer.
One more breakdown. At the very end there. And a nice farmer helps him get the rest of the way, and he meets his brother, and they sit on the porch and look at the stars just like they did when they were kids.
Yeah, that's another really well acted scene with very little in it.
Yes.
With Harry Dean Stanton. So I want to talk about that scene and the ending a little bit in our next segment, and I think it's time to get to that segment.
I think it is time to get to that segment.
And that segment, as I recall, we've named What Really Happened. Anyway, this is the segment where we like to talk about sort of the hidden meanings some of the implied subtext of the scenes, any other interesting outside of the film observations that belong in here.
The deeper,
And we have like the film crit piece of this we're going to do a little bit later in a different segment, but okay. So you had some behind the scenes stuff you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So I think this is a very interesting film to start in, because kind of in the middle of David Lynch's career, and personally, it was a very turbulent time for Lynch.
I mean, I feel like it's always
a little bit turbulent. But yeah, it was a string of Twin Peaks is canceled. His next couple films, are highly regarded but don't do well in the box office.
Which this didn't either.
This
made $6 million in the box office. That is not great.
It's not good. Not
great.
Not great.
Yeah.
He was having a rough go. That's more the background info where Lynch was.
Well, and that sort of matches. So it's also germane to mention that his actor, it's Richard Farnsworth, right?
Yes.
His actor was also going through a pretty serious depression at this point.
Yes.
Right.
Richard Farnsworth had bone cancer during filming. Yes. And actually, the limp that you see him with in the film is real. Wow. He really hurt himself. The chair that he is sitting in for the filming had to be specially made so that he could sit in it comfortably. And he was in a lot of real pain while acting. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But all to say, both Richard and Lynch, had a lot of heavy emotions at the time that they were filming this movie, which is very interesting because, as we said, it is a very, in a way, light and breezy movie, but
really
with
sweet.
That, it's very sweet.
It's a sweet movie.
Absolutely.
Right?
Very, optimistic.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would walk away from this movie and find it depressing.
No.
I think sometimes it feels like, oh man, that is how life is. Like there's a little bit of nodding at people's pain, maybe.
Yes, and actually I wrote down, in the section, some things I wrote are some ideas that the film plays with is, Alvin himself, we see him in poor health.
Yeah.
And part of that is later we find out about his trauma, and it's like he feels guilty for being alive as it is.
Yeah.
So to, continually, go to the doctor and do all these things that they're asking him to do, it's hard to get yourself to do it because why am I even alive?
Yeah. His guilt says he can't do it. He has that great line.
There's one thing that I can't shake loose. All my buddies' faces are still young. And the thing is, the more years I have, the more they've lost.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He even says that he starts to think of the German faces that they were killing.
Yeah.
And you're like, he's far enough away from that conflict now that it's just, these are people who didn't live as long as I did.
Yeah, and I had a hand in that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that was, I think, a pretty profound observation.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of what this movie is better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, it's just kind of sweet. I think that's where Lynch is really smart for doing local casting.
Yes.
Because I think you get somebody who feels like the place and feels...
of the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just sort of brings you root for the movie for that. Mm-hmm. For instance, I think of the young pregnant woman who definitely felt like she was a local actor. I don't know that she is. I think she was. Mm-hmm. And there's something about a person, you don't see a person like her in film very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something about watching her and Richard Farnsworth have this just pretty mundane conversation, really.
Yeah. And again, it's there's stuff under this, but it's not a weighted conversation.
It's safe.
Yeah.
There's no tension in it. Mm-hmm. It's really just sort of, they're both trying to get comfortable enough to have a real chat.
Yeah.
And they do, and that's enough.
Yeah. I think that's part of what makes the film so sweet, and I think what wraps up, the heavier emotions and topics in it is that we're seeing someone be very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that brings connection. The vulnerability is what brings the connection between the characters. And it's a character who we have said does not want to go into someone's house, doesn't want to inconvenience anyone else in any way. And part of that is a like distancing and a protection of oneself. But we see him slowly, you know, be vulnerable in his own way, in his own time. And then in the end, he did the most vulnerable thing, which is drive all the way in a mower to see his brother, who is shocked. Is like, you drove all the way here to see me? And
the moment his brother sees the lawnmower, which we keep calling tractor, it sees it and like the full realization of what happened before he asked that question. You see it in his eyes. You know, again, I think that's why you got to cast some of these people with like, you know, great actors like Harry Dean Stanton. That's the whole movie. You know what I mean? Like that arrival is like the whole movie works because of that.
You did that for me.
Yeah. I can let it go now.
Yeah.
Like they don't even need to have a talk.
Right.
That was enough.
That was it.
And that's actually a question I want to ask you that this movie sort of brings up. Do you think this is a story where the lead character is punishing himself for atonement? Like, is he atoning for a mistake?
I think so, whether consciously or not consciously. But I think so. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I'm doing it on my own.
I have to suffer.
Yeah.
Or it's not, or I didn't really earn the forgiveness.
Right. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that's also very like, for lack of a better word, like an old and like American and like old man and there's just something very like true about that ism.
It's a sort of a Catholic idea or like
absolutely,
a Christian idea.
Protestant,
but it has that stuff never comes up per se. But like this movie keeps giving him. Everybody wants to help him. That's what's so interesting about it. Yeah. The conflict is not can he find help. It's will he accept any help, or is he just?
Does he feel like he deserves to?
Does he feel like he deserves help?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is actually more interesting conflict than if nobody would help him.
Yeah, people are It's about him and his.
Yeah. But also, like, I mean, I know you've had older relatives. I had a grandfather this guy really reminds me of. It was just sort of, my grandfather was more of a surly old cuss than this guy was. But same kind of, like, no, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you just kind of have to let them do it, you know? And, like, watching them work out their own regrets, which is a thing that happens later in life.
Absolutely, yeah.
There is something very moving about that. You know?
It is. Because again, that's vulnerable to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, like not wanting to leave it unfinished. You know, like if they hadn't, like if he and his brother hadn't reconciled, it would be unfinished. You know, and I think there's something real about that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, yeah, it's a beautiful film, really, on a message level, which you know you don't often see. Feels like maybe we are ready to get into some of our deep reads.
I think so. I think we're ready for a little, wait, what?
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Anyway, this segment is about sort of our critical reads of this film. So sometimes it's going to be about filmmaking technique.
Yep.
Sometimes it's going to be about sort of like other reads that this movie inspires, or other ways to view the text here, or just sort of fun conversations that come out of these movies. This is the stuff I think that people who really love Lynch get excited about. Yeah. And some movies will bear more on this than others. Like I would say this one probably has less than like Mulholland Drive will have.
It is his straightest stories.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I think he understood the assignment here, which was I don't need to get super weird. Right. Although there is one great moment that the Lynch of it all pops in, and that is the moment he starts to have tractor problems. It's the way it's made, it's not insane. It fits the movie. Yeah. But, like, there's definitely some speed ramping going on.
If you saw it out of the context of the movie, you would say that's insane. You're like,
what is going on with this man's lawnmower?
What?
Yeah,
what's that burning building doing there?
Yeah, it's real weird. but he manages to get away with it. I just feel like he can't help himself.
Yeah.
Like he's got to put this weird shit in.
That's how he expresses himself.
Yeah, he's got to do it. And I love him for it.
We all do.
Absolutely love it. So this film, it doesn't have a lot of really strong filmmaking motifs, like bold choices, like you might see in some of his other films. But he does do a couple things I thought were really interesting. One of them is he loves putting this character on a poster. And what I mean by that is he likes to compress and shoot horizontally this character on the lawnmower, because I think he just sees that as an iconic image. And so you're constantly watching him in front of flat walls or against cornfields or basically on longer lenses to get the sense that you're getting a painting of this.
Yeah.
You know, or it's a postcard. Lots of filmmakers have done this. He's not the first one, but like he's doing it in a very subtle way where you don't notice.
Yeah.
But like if you really want to feel it, for instance, there's a great scene where he is driving by like a family outside on their lawn, right? And you get these POV shots of the family sort of looking at him and waving, and then you get the shot back at him. The shot back at him feels like it's on a much longer lens because he feels like an iconic figure, and you get this very wide shot of them, and the difference between how their lives feel is really interesting.
Yeah.
You don't think about it,
Right.
but it's definitely there. Like another film, for those of you who are like, I really want to get into cinematography, that's not a Lynch film, but uses the same technique as Barry Lyndon, Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
So Kubrick got these crazy telephoto lenses for Barry Lyndon because he wanted to create paintings.
And he does. That's
and
what
he does. He gets
Wow.
all those zooms in that film
Yeah.
where you get these like really flat images that look like, wow, it's a painting.
Yeah.
I think we're doing a little bit of that here with Lynch, but he does contrast it sometimes with these panoramas of the like the road that he's on that are deep space on a wider lens to give a sense of like how far the journey is.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of his major motif here. He's like creating a kind of iconic portrait of this character, but then showing the depth of danger the character might be facing. And you know, that's the kind of the fanciest thing that he's up to here.
Yeah.
He also does a weird thing that I don't know exactly what it means, and I've been thinking about it, which is he gets on these. He loves a lot of like overhead soaring shots.
Yeah.
That are unmotivated. There's an incredible, like, watching him drive off into the horizon where the camera pans up to the clouds.
Yes.
And you're like, that's so
We've
beautiful.
been going up there? Yeah. It's like,
we're going up there.
Right.
And then he just hangs on the clouds, and then he tilts back down, and you think, oh, we're going to cut time here, right? That's what a different filmmaker would do.
Yeah.
No.
No.
He just got a little further down the road. He just wanted to look at the clouds for a while.
Yeah. And if
you're
you were
like,
driving
what?
that tractor, that's
what
probably
would
what you would
happen.
do. Yeah.
Right. It's a very subjective camera in a way that's not tethered to the motion of the character.
Yes.
A thing that, say, Spielberg would do.
Totally.
Or even Scorsese would do.
Yeah.
Lynch is free as a filmmaker to, like, I'll just do what I want, and these moves won't always be motivated. And the subjectivity of the camera makes us feel like we go with it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can get away with that.
Yeah. But he does.
Yeah, well, the first shot of the movie also, like, the move is like, why
That's
is the
right.
camera moving?
Right.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled, film audience, for why does David Lynch move the camera? Because a lot of times, if you start thinking about that, you'll be like,
there's no need to.
what is happening?
Right. Why
now?
move it?
Yeah, and it's become kind of a staple. Like, I just watched Poor Things, a movie you and I were talking about.
Okay. Yes.
And Poor Things has all kinds of weird moves and unmotivated dolly stuff.
Yeah.
And lens swapping stuff that you're like,
Fish Islands.
and it's clearly indebted
Yeah.
to David Lynch.
Yeah.
Very clearly. You know, because that's his thing.
Yeah.
So it's a weird movie for that, even though it still doesn't ever feel like a transgressive film.
Right.
He's still got his weird artist touch in there.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah. What did you take from the film?
Yeah, so I wanted to just touch a little bit on Richard Farnsworth's performance.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Wow.
He was great in this movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is an incredible performance.
Yeah.
And so Richard, was very sick, dealing with bone cancer.
That's so sad.
It's very, very sad. And it was just the amount of pain that he was in.
Sure.
But I mean, and all to say, not that you need pain to make a great performance. You don't. You can manufacture pain, obviously. But also, there is a thing of acting is reacting to reality. And he really was thinking about the things that the character was too, getting older, the end of his life. This is the last project that he would work on, the last character he would ever play. The journey of the character, the journey of his life towards the end.
It doesn't hurt for an actor to have a life that overlaps.
Not at all.
Like, I think that's a good thing for an actor if you can get it.
The joke is like, use it, like that's the joke. But it is actually, if you feel that way, and that is how the character probably feels too.
No doubt.
That is real. And actors they want to portray reality.
Absolutely. Well, and they want to use reality to express something true.
Yes, yeah. Or manufacture a situation in which they can express a truism.
An interesting counterpoint to this that I'm kind of curious what you think about it is The Wrestler. Remember that movie, The Wrestler?
Yeah. We almost watched that together.
That's right.
We didn't pick it, yeah.
That'll get watched.
Yeah.
The Wrestler is a movie with another epic performance by a person who sort of has overlap.
Yeah.
And that's Mickey Rourke, who had a bit of a comeback around that time, similar to the character in The Wrestler. That movie, it feels like the narrative about Mickey Rourke was part of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think this story you're telling felt like it was part of the movie.
I don't think so. No. This was more, I don't think the actor, and honestly that is why the performance is so good. It's because you're not watching it thinking about him as an actor. You're not. You're watching it as Alvin Strait. He is that character.
Yeah.
But it's really the more of the behind the scene work that you do before you get to the camera that, I think deeply informed the work that goes on before sitting down to actually perform the character.
I enjoyed how much weight it seemed like he was carrying. And the longer you watch him, the more that becomes clear.
Yeah, and I think a key to the performance is his exterior and the way that the character is a contradiction because, he's like giving these like warm-hearted advice while we see that it hasn't actually panned out that way in his own life.
Well, he doesn't take it.
Yeah, he doesn't take it, right. Yeah. The way that he'll like smile to another character,
right,
even though you can tell that it's reminding him of something incredibly sad inside. And that dichotomy is really, I think, the brilliance of the performance and the truism. Like the deeper you hurt sometimes, especially the character like this, the more you want to put on a brave face for everyone else, to do it yourself, to not accept help, to, smile or crack a joke.
Right. That feels very Midwestern to me.
That's,
but I mean,
absolutely.
It's very clear Lynch was like, I want to capture the plate. Like he filmed it on location.
Yeah.
He wanted to capture that culture. A lot of his movies are like L.A. I'm trying to capture what L.A. is.
Yeah.
This one felt like he went back to his roots a bit. Yeah. And I think even this character feels very much of that area. Like you wouldn't meet this guy in L.A., I don't think.
No, this guy,
no. No.
This guy lives in Wisconsin and drove his lawnmower to Iowa. Or
some rural area, yeah, for sure. And you're right, the sort of, you never really let your hurt show. Because again, that would burden someone else. I mean, going back to the characters, for him to be vulnerable is a huge step because it is opening up. And that's also why that scene with the other veteran is so powerful, because it is two people showing each other their burdens and they're putting it on one another, which we haven't seen him do the entire film. Right. I mean, I could spend an entire podcast on that scene because I just the other guy still kind of wounds me because you could see how much. I don't know the story with that actor, so I'm just guessing. It looks like he was telling a true story to me. Like when I watch him, like that might have happened to that guy, because the tears, and he doesn't want to finish his sentences, and you're like, oh my god. And the contrast, though, that Richard Farnsworth shows up there with is that he's carrying something darker.
Yeah.
So he's not allowed to fall to pieces, even in that scene.
Yeah.
And that's where you really feel the weight that he's carrying around. Where it's like, what happened to him and what he's been living with is worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he can't get to the bottom of all that. You know, and you really feel it. It's wild.
Yeah.
He's also got those great blue eyes, man.
Yeah.
They hurt you.
Yeah.
You know.
Very expressive.
Yeah. And that, you know, yeah. Yeah, interesting how much real life David Lynch managed to capture in this film.
That is why, one of the reasons why people love Lynch, I think, is capturing those little bits of humanity.
In these surreal landscapes,
yes,
you know, I don't know how he does it. Yeah, I would be interested in and I don't know if this exists, maybe somebody will find it. I want to see some behind the scenes featurette of how he works. Like, what does he do?
Does
it exist and I just haven't seen it?
Well, at least for Twin Peaks season.
Okay, I want to watch that. Okay, great. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other interesting reads?
Nah, I mean, I think it's time to move into our spotlight, if you're ready.
I was born ready for the spotlight. Wow.
But before we get to the spotlight, one of my favorite things about David Lynch is the way he blends classic Americana with the aesthetics of French cinema. And I'm excited to watch maybe the greatest example of Lynch doing just that, his surreal short film, The Cowboy and the Frenchman. This strange exploration of perception and culture marks the first time Lynch worked with screen icon Harry Dean Stanton. Released before Twin Peaks, The Cowboy and the Frenchman is a great prelude to the kind of stilted, weird comedy that Lynch would explore with the show. It's also a great example of the many unique, exceptional films that you'll find over on Mubi. Mubi is my go-to streaming service for experimental, independent, and international cinema. One of my favorite games to play with Mubi was this film directly inspired by the works of David Lynch? Tonight, I'll be playing with Aki Kaurismäki's latest film, Fallen Leaves. Let's see. Idiosyncratic playfulness, deadpan humor. I like the odds. Did I mention the descriptions on Mubi are actually helpful and informative? I know, it's a miracle. Using my link, mubi.com/mmfish, you can get a whole month for free. And signing up is also a great way to support us here at LynchPins. So make your next movie night a Mubi night. Yes, I did write that by myself. Thank you very much. Just head over to mubi.com/mmfish. That's mubi.com/mmfish. And now, the spotlight.
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 This feels good.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you
this.
agree?
Yeah.
We should have done the whole thing like this.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're right. There's too
No.
much. We can only go this intense for a while.
I'd be a fried fish by the end of this.
I think I'm getting sunburnt and I'm indoors right now. Spotlight is the segment where we discuss the things that you'll see in each Lynch film that sort of unite them as Lynchian things. The kind of stuff to keep your eyes peeled for because you're going to see it occur more than once.
Yes. The guy in the corner who's talking to you about David Lynch at the party will inevitably bring up these things.
He'll probably be standing in light similar to this too. You'll know him when you see him.
You'll see him.
He'll glow a little bit and not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. You'll
Anyways.
see the stink lines around. You know what I mean? You'll see it. All right. This film is the least Lynchy, we've agreed, but he still worked some of his magic in here.
There's still,
What are some things you noticed?
So first and foremost, and we will see this with everything that Lynch
Foremost
touches.
indeed.
Foremost indeed.
Yeah.
The very idiosyncratic characters.
Yeah.
Very
Bunch of weirdos.
Bunch of weirdos.
Yeah.
Which I feel is a very truism from also having grown up in a tiny little town. It's just like, oh yeah, that's the guy that, wanders on the beach and buys girls' panties. That's just who he is. That's a guy.
That's a guy who's doing that with
That's
his
the
life.
hot dog guy. Put his kids through college by selling hot dogs. These are all true.
Well, you're also pointing out like maybe a slightly larger theme, which is Americana.
Yes.
So like Lynch, unlike a lot of other filmmakers, is really interested in representing American culture as such.
Yes, in all its foibles and its, I guess, like,
like the ironies of it. He loves the 50s. He's very much like a boomer filmmaker in some ways. Like there's always going to be some 50s inspired stuff.
There's a love, and then there's a
satire.
Oh yeah, and a wrestling with that love of something that is also kind of evil.
Yeah, like you'll see a beautiful lawn, and then there'll be a severed ear in it. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of world we're talking about. And that that stuff exists here. I would also say that this movie had, it also used American colors, right? It used the red, white, and blue.
Yes. So David Lynch loves blue and red. He works in many colors, but those are two that thematically he will bring up very often.
Yes.
In almost all of his work.
Yes.
And we see blue and red working many a time here.
I'll point out that again during the second lawnmower crash incident, you started to see some stuff he will do more frequently. One of them is sound design. Okay, so one thing you need to know about David Lynch is a lot of filmmakers, they're going to hire other people to do sound design. He sometimes does that, but he's really involved in the soundscape of his movies.
Yeah.
Like he'll write music for his movies. In fact, he has records out. You should listen to them.
Yes.
There's something to hear. They're amazing. Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times I put a person on a date and played Crazy Clown Time just to see what happens.
To see if there will be a second date.
Yeah. That's how it ends. Like, okay, we had a great time. Here's a track. How you feel about this? And then just stare at it, right? Yeah. Anyway, gotta listen to that. It's a good one.
Yeah.
The soundscape is a place he loves to play. Loves to put really weird, subjective stuff. It doesn't happen a lot in this movie, but it happens most when the lawnmower starts to go haywire and he almost crashes.
Yes.
Keep your ears peeled for that.
Yes. And also in that moment, and this is another motif that David Lynch portrays, is fire.
Loves fire.
Loves fire.
Loves it.
Loves electricity. There's not much of that in here. We'll more talk about that in later, but they're related. But yeah, so fire just as a thing and energy as a visual.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's very primal like that.
Yeah.
Like he'll tap into things that feel like earth, wind, fire sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
As not even like story elements, but as like just visual undercurrents.
Yes, or like emotional tableaus to kind of underpin the broader emotional movements happening in his work.
Yeah, he's very free.
Yeah.
He doesn't worry about whether it should be there from a narrative point of view.
Yeah.
He worries about do I feel good when I watch it?
Yeah, do I want it to be there? Is it saying
do I like it?
Do I like it?
The last thing I want to point out, which might have even fit in an earlier segment, but it's worth talking about, is he loves to end his films in space.
Yes.
He loves to go to space.
Yes.
They don't all end like that, but a few of them do.
Yeah.
David Lynch is a transcendental meditationalist. Meditationist? I don't know. Transcendental meditation is a thing he really believes in. He's kind of a big advocate for it.
Yep.
In fact, again, if you buy his album, there's some songs about it on there, and they're pretty great.
Yeah.
He finds a way to sort of incorporate some of those elements and some of those philosophies into the ends of his stories. Especially what he thinks about after death, like what happens when the story's over or death occurs.
Yeah.
Often there's a kind of spiritual, I guess I'll call it an afterlife, but I don't know if that's
perspective
really what it is.
change.
Yes. It's not as loud in this one. This one feels more grounded, but it's there. It gets much louder in some subsequent films.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think in that vein, maybe we should end this episode as well with a little meditation ourselves.
I think so.
I think you at home watching this can meditate with
along.
us. Yeah.
Come to the truth, however you find it. God, that was so much truth.
I know. Wow. You said so much without saying anything. I'm so tired. So tired.
I need sleep.
Thank you for listening to LynchPins. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend. Be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. And if you really enjoyed the show and want to help us make more episodes, get access to exclusive bonus content, and see your name in the video podcast credits, head over to patreon.com/Maggie Mayfish. LynchPins is hosted by me, Maggie Mayfish, and Adam Ganser. Produced by Will Reese, with original music by Daniel Klein. And be sure to join us for the next episode as we discuss David Lynch's Elephant Man.